Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news. Ahead of the Brazilian Grand Prix, potential troubles for Mercedes. Their main crypto sponsor FTX has effectively gone bankrupt over the last couple of days, calling into question that sponsorship arrangement in the future, but also what it means for Formula 1 more widely. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Big update firstly on Lando Norris. News coming out earlier today that he is currently feeling unwell with suspected food poisoning. So he will rest in the hotel today. Hopefully Lando can get better soon, because we've seen this a couple of times this season, drivers getting unwell and either racing or not racing, as we saw in Alex Albon's case, which effectively has made Nick de Vries' entire career. That time that he had to step out in Monza, was able to return thankfully for Singapore a couple of weekends later, but Nick de Vries got the drive there. He was able to do a great job in the Williams, got a couple of points in the Williams, and sorted himself out a seat next season at AlphaTauri. So who knows who's going to replace Lando if that is the case. Apparently, Nick de Vries is on standby again. He's usually the reserve guy for Mercedes, and therefore he's in Brazil. So if McLaren have an issue, then he's also available for them, just like he was for Williams, another kind of, manufacturer supplier team that Mercedes give their engines to for the season. So yeah, hopefully Lando is okay. The rumour has it, or at least from what they're saying, they reckon he'll be okay for practice and qualifying, but there's a chance that he's not well enough tomorrow to, of course it's a sprint weekend, right? There's no practice Friday, qualifying Saturday. This is qualifying Friday, sprint Saturday, race Sunday. So you get 3 Ted's notebooks in the week, but it also means that you've got to qualify on Friday. So there is a world in which Nick de Vries has to qualify for McLaren for Lando Norris, but then Norris would then step into the seat on Saturday, and I'm pretty sure that means that he doesn't get to keep, let's say Nick de Vries sticks it on pole, I'm pretty sure Lando Norris can't just step into that car and start on pole. Pretty sure he has to start at the back. So that's for the sprint race, of course. So probably doubtful that will occur anyway, but interesting to note, because if Norris can't compete in the qualifying, pretty sure he starts from the back wherever Nick de Vries qualifies, if that was to be the circumstance for the sprint race on Saturday. Few words on Mercedes before we talk about this sponsorship debacle then, because there's been some items spotted around the track already. The Aston Martin floor was spotted here by Amos, because you can see what's going on in the pit lane, and already we start to see what Mercedes have got in order. Their upgrades are now done, every team's upgrades are done, but this is the front wing that they introduced in Mexico, which did seemingly give them an edge. That's one of the questions really, that they didn't have their new front wing as part of their upgrade package in Austin. They brought it in just for Mexico, and the question is, okay, how much did that improve their car in Mexico compared to where they would have been, or was it just the lack of drag from the lower density air that was actually giving them the advantage there compared to the clear pace advantage Red Bull still had in Austin? So that's a bit of a question mark. Did that new front wing in Mexico give them such an extra big advantage over where they were before and over Ferrari, or was it more to do with the circumstances? But you can see on the front wing here, FTX, their crypto sponsor. We'll talk more about them here in just a second. These are some rear wing angles here, what the teams are running. Definitely a circuit that theoretically should suit the Red Bull rather well. You'd have to be kind of crazy to bet against Verstappen getting his 15th win of the season, and who knows, right? It could be a scrappy race, because look, there will be thunderstorms, we believe. It will be raining all sessions across the weekends, or maybe not all sessions, but certainly all the important sessions. There is likely to be some rain in the air at the very least, and that of course creates a rather exciting circumstance. Ferrari are chasing P2 in the constructors. Well, Ferrari are in the driver's seat, but some would argue Mercedes are definitely coming rather fast. I think for the sprint race this weekend, I think Mercedes pretty much have to have Ferrari to have a shocker in the sprint race, because if Mercedes were to come P2, P3 in the sprint race, for example, they would net 13, I think, points for that, because I think it's 8 for first, all the way down for 1 point for 8th position. So, that's basically the way it works for sprint. So they can close the 40-point gap if they have a great sprint race and Ferrari have a stinker. And then obviously if Ferrari do have a stinker, if there's a crash or something, who knows, they would be starting from the back of the grid effectively. So for the race on Sunday. So, Mercedes, I think, need the sprint race to go their way this weekend, but it does mean there is more points on the line for Mercedes than what would usually be the case with 2 races to go. No double points for the final race, as has been the case in the past. And Mercedes have also said that they'd prefer to win a race out of the 2 remaining than get P2, but still, we'll see what happens. They're still going to try and chase it. Now, Ferrari, of course, should be better here. They had to turn down the engines due to the high altitude affecting their smaller turbos, and they were in no man's land in Mexico. They should be more competitive here, certainly in qualifying, and Amos do believe that Mercedes might struggle in Interlagos. The bumps on the circuit, which is true, different corner types could push the W13 out of the right setup window. I don't know if that's so relevant anymore. Certainly at the start of the season, any circuit with any bumps was causing a nightmare for that W13. Of course, Baku, right, and Monaco were some examples, but most recently in Singapore and also in Austin, right, where the circuit's kind of bumpy, they were still pretty competitive, as with in Mexico, where the circuit's not overly bumpy, but still it's not exactly completely flat. So it's difficult to say how relevant this discussion is nowadays because, Brazil does have its fair share of bumps, but at the same time, the Mercedes seems to be able to cope with that better now than it has done before. But, one thing that might pull Mercedes back a little bit, Ferrari should go forward, certainly for Mexico, and then Red Bull drive off into the distance potentially this weekend. But as I say, it's going to get spicy with the weather conditions we are having. Now, this is one of the big stories of the day, the crypto drama that's going on right now, and I think it's probably what a lot of people expected, that a lot of these crypto exchanges, the market for them is consolidating somewhat. There are a lot of these exchanges that popped up over the last couple of years, really. Some of them with huge amounts of money, and some of them just aren't delivering the results anymore. It's kind of consolidating into a few of the top dogs, as many expected. Mercedes, though, as their primary sponsor, FTX, they've been one of the big talking points the last couple of days, with their exchange effectively going bankrupt, facing insolvency, really. And it seems like Mercedes is going to lose this crypto sponsor. Now, I don't believe we know what the exact number attached to this deal is. I think if you guys follow esports at all, TSM, an esports organization, had a 10-year deal with FTX that was worth $210 million, I believe. So whatever Mercedes' deal was for multiple seasons, it wouldn't have been a small deal. We're talking hundreds of millions potentially for a deal like this, most certainly. And just for reference there, the deal that F1 have with Crypto.com, that's worth about $100 million reportedly. So that's kind of the type of numbers we're talking about here. There's big money involved in these crypto sponsorships, and some would argue that these crypto sponsorships have kind of become the new wave of the tobacco sponsorships from back in the day, where I used to see Marlboro and Camel, all this type of stuff on the cars. They banned that, right? You're no longer allowed to promote tobacco. You're also no longer allowed to promote alcohol. But what Heineken do is they just have Heineken, whatever their no alcohol-free one is called, they have that on the track instead. And it's absolutely fine. We're just promoting our alcohol-free version. Whereas in reality, if you see a Heineken ad, are you really thinking about their alcohol-free version? Probably not. That's the way they're circumnavigated. But the cryptocurrency stuff has really been the big talking point the last couple of years, where they've come in and provided so much money and so much capital that potentially the tobacco sponsors used to provide and now no longer can. So these are many examples here, and some of you guys might have heard of some of these. Some of you probably haven't. The ones that I've heard of really are FTX, Crypto.com, and Binance, maybe Bybit, but only because I've seen it on Red Bull's car, to be honest. These are some of the other crypto sponsors around the grid, and maybe people expect that Crypto.com and maybe Binance and a couple of others, maybe Coinbase, I don't know, will end up consolidating as the kind of key players in the exchange market. But over the last couple of years, FTX, despite starting well, has obviously been on the downhill trajectory, and they've been causing a lot of chaos the last couple of days, and they've effectively now run out of money. I think their Bitcoin balance went negative or something like that. Not exactly sure of the whole story, but turns out they're sponsoring Mercedes. Mercedes definitely don't have, of course, many teams have history of sketchy sponsorship deals. Mercedes are occasionally in those conversations, and if FTX is now gone, then that means they have no more money to pay Mercedes. So what does that mean for their future, right? Because yes, it's only one sponsor of many. Their title sponsor is the Petronas sponsorship that they've had for many years at this point. But if they lose the FTX one, they're going to need some other ones to come through, you would imagine as well. They probably can sell those. But as I say, this deal is worth in the, hundreds of millions of dollars potentially range, which is a pretty big deal. Now, the other thing was that Binance were meant to buy FTX. There was some drama about mishandled customer funds, and they did their due diligence and decided, no, we're not going to buy them anymore. So pretty much they are completely in the mud. So intrigued to your thoughts about that. Will it really affect anything for Mercedes from a monetary perspective? Probably not. They've got the cash anyway. They've got the other sponsorships coming through. They're not really in danger of missing the budget cap. If this was Haas and FTX pulled out of that, then all of a sudden there is some concern there because they probably won't be able to reach the cap without their primary sponsor. However, they've got another sponsor, MoneyGram or something, that's going to allow Haas to reach the budget cap next season, apparently. Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, these organizations got no issue doing that regardless. But still, is this the beginning of the end of crypto in Formula One, or is this just a small blip? Because, some of these other teams and exchanges might well stick around. Will Mercedes try and find a replacement, or what's the plan going to be there? And as tobacco moved out of Formula One, is it possible that the crypto stuff could do the same in due course? Intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's talk the race quickly before we close out the video. Just to say here, and I think Hamilton probably last year helped these numbers a fair bit, but this is average overtakes per circuit since 2017. Monaco by far the worst, but Interlagos over the last several years has had on average the highest overtakes per season. Miami this year actually didn't do too badly either, but yeah, Interlagos theoretically should give us a great race, as it most certainly usually does. And just to clarify once again, FP1 qualifying qualifying on Friday, sprint on Saturday, Grand Prix on Sunday, the final sprint race of the season with extra points up for grabs. These are the previous winners. Hamilton, of course, last season. Verstappen in 2019. Hamilton's won 3 times in the last 5 times that they have raced there. But last time out, of course, it was Valtteri Bottas who managed to win the sprint race after getting off the line well on the soft tyres, and Verstappen couldn't quite catch him up right to the end on those mediums. And just to say again, this is the weather report as it stands. So Friday, Saturday and Sunday, all potentially, there's going to be some drama out there. We've had many great race moments in the wet here at Interlagos, so hopefully we get another repeat of that. Friday's meant to rain, not exactly like substantial rain or anything, but it should be significant enough. And then Saturday, Sunday, that's when there is going to be wet conditions, we believe. This is what it says for me on Saturday, with rain pretty much all day and chances of thunderstorms as well. Sunday looks pretty similar to this, but with the chances kind of consolidated around when the race is actually going to occur. So if nothing changes, and it hasn't really in the report over the last 3 or so days, we are going to have an exciting race weekend. There is no doubt about it, but very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.